Welcome to Medical Myths, Legends, and Fairy Tales. I'm your host, Dr. Alan Christensen. Look, you know that between the latest online fads and the crazy media headlines, it's easier than ever to get confused about your health. And you and I just want to feel better and live longer. We want to know what works. And we can't wait for further studies. We need to make decisions today based on the best evidence we've got. Well, that's exactly what this show is here for. So let's get to it. Hey, Dr. Alan Christensen here. Welcome to another episode of Medical Myths, Legends, and Fairy Tales. So today, this is a special interview. This is a dear friend, a patient. She's named Diane. She's been very public about her story, and I wanted to have her share it with you all in some detail. Pretty inspiring thing. She had a massive change in body weight, a pretty big shift in health overall. You know, it took her a few years. She had some false starts along the way. But I thought her story was incredible for, I don't know, in so many cases, one of the biggest things holding us back is our weight. It can affect so many symptoms, and it can feel like it can't ever change. But she was there. She went down over 65 pounds, like over a third of her body weight, and had a massive transformation. So I wanted to get some ins and outs on how that worked for her, her journey, and just some inspiration for people to realize that this can be the cause of symptoms. It can change. And even if nothing has worked before, it's still possible. So please enjoy this great talk I had with Diane. Hey, and welcome to Diane. Welcome to the episode, Diane. How are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you for having me.
This is great. This is a lot of fun. So it's been a few years. I haven't seen you for a little bit.
It's been 5 years.
5 years?
5 years.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, it feels like yesterday.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. So you've had a huge accomplishment. I really want to take some time and just celebrate that with you and, you know, congratulate you and learn from this and inspire some people. And yeah, thank you for being willing to share your story about this. This is really cool.
Definitely. It was 5 years that I had met you, and, you know, people look to Google, social media, thyroid groups, Hashimoto's groups, and they're given the misinformation. 5 years ago when I met you, I had bags of vitamins that I read it on the internet. This is going to save my life, or this is going to make me lose 10 pounds. This is going to get me healthy. And my whole thing was feeling better, stopping with all these vitamins and, you know, losing that weight, not with a get quick diet, with taking care of myself first, putting myself first. And that's one of the hardest things to do. And that's the first step to succeed with your program, with your books that I refer back to. And it's putting yourself first and knowing if you make those changes, if you do this, it's not going to happen overnight. For me, it took 5 years. When I saw you, I was 200 pounds. I'm now 135 pounds.
That's so cool.
that accomplishment is, you read the book again and again, and then you refer back to it. And I now, with the direction of your staff, I'm looking forward to coming back because I know that with COVID and everything, we had to take a pause there. But with your staff and with your input, and, you know, the one of the best things that I can tell everybody is read your emails that you send. Pay attention to Facebook when you go live. That's wonderful information, and that alone gives you everything you need to succeed. Take that time for you. And I've been doing that since I've met you, and I feel wonderful. I feel great. All hope is not gone. I found it, and it's been a rewarding journey.
That's so cool. So I'd love to, just talk in some detail about this and hear about the story a bit more. And so you mentioned, for starters, one thing you were hoping for was just, I don't know, more pills were going to be the answer somewhere along the way. And so you were on a bunch. I remember that. And it built up over the years, or how would you describe that part of it? Or
right, it was like, okay, I need a vitamin for this. I need a vitamin D. I need a B12. I need a C. I need a zinc. I need a selenium. I need a woman's a woman's pill, a woman's vitamin. And it was just like all of these things were making me sicker and sicker because my body was basically screaming, what are you doing? You don't need all these vitamins. And then it was, you know, how do you pace out your thyroid medication from like a vitamin D pill that you may need? I would take everything together, and you have to space that out in order for it to be effective. And here was me popping all these vitamins at once, getting an upset stomach, not wanting to eat, and then binging and eating because it was like, get rid of this unhealthiness. I was just an unhealthy person, and it was the direction, the hope, everything, you know. The one big takeaway too was, you know, the importance of exercise and doing. You don't have to do weights, you don't have to run. I do a 5K and I walk it, and it's one of the greatest things for me to accomplish. I get the medal at the end of the race. I'm healthy, I feel great, and bought myself a Fitbit to keep track. And I forced myself because I know if I don't do it first thing in the morning or at lunch, I'm not going to do it at the end of the day because you're just drained from work. You're drained from life in general, that you put yourself first and go, okay, I can get up at 6 in the morning and I can do that walk. I can start with 3,000 steps, take it to 5,000 steps, take it to 10,000 steps. But that's where I had to put myself in check. Stopping with all those supplements and putting myself first and listening to you, like that's what it's really about, is investing in yourself and not just listening, acting on it. You have to act on it. If you don't act on it, nothing's going to happen. You're just wasting time listening and not doing anything for yourself.
You know, and it's tricky because people often are trying to figure things out and they find just a lot of conflicting information, and it can make it hard for them to move forward. So somewhere along the
Yes.
way, it does take, just finding a congruent system. And was there like a transition that you went through with the mindset, or how did that evolve?
So I'm going to be honest with you. And you know, this is an encouragement for others as well. My first metabolism reset diet did not go well.
This is great. This is exactly what we need to hear. So we got to hear about this.
It did not go well. It's one of those things where if you're not in the mindset, you're going to say to yourself, I can't do this. I can't. They're crazy. How can anybody do this? How can I live off of this? It's not going to happen. And when you put yourself first, yes, you're going to fail the first time because, you know, you're new to it. You're trying it. You don't know what you're doing. And then you just get, you know, you've done so much unhealthy things for so long that you're wanting magic to happen, right? Like I'm wanting you to come into my house and you sit here, hold my hand through the whole thing and tell me what I'm doing and what I'm not doing.
And wave the magic wand.
Yes. Yes. So it was trial and error. So I did a
Any
little.
gory details about the first one, about how it
Oh
just
my
didn't work
God.
out? Or
It was like, I'm starving. And it's something that you learn as you're doing the reset diet, but you're like, I'm starving. And it's because you're not eating or drinking water in increments. You're waiting for yourself to be starving, which makes you start thinking about bad foods and bad, you know, bad things. And I remember, you know, doing my shake and thinking it was going to be magic. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I took it at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I should have done it at 7 in the morning. So now it's 11 in the afternoon. I'm having my shake and now I'm really starving. And now I'm looking through my fridge. Well, what can I have? I can have unlimited vegetables. But you know what? I don't want vegetables. I want.
not at the point of crisis.
So I took it upon myself and I researched some vegetarian and vegan restaurants in the area. And we're not pro. I'm not a pro. I'm not a chef. I'm not, you know, I needed to see what they were preparing and how they were preparing it and how I can make it fun for me, how I can make unlimited vegetables fun for me. How can I make this diet fun for me? And once you get through, and I've seen it, trending on your different, Facebook groups. I've seen the trending. Once you can get through the second day, it's pretty easy. You just have to
Mm,
put yourself on a schedule. And that schedule might be coinciding with your work calendar. That's how I started. So I would put on my work calendar, at this time, I'm having my shake. At this time, even though I'm not hungry, I need to throw in some spinach, or maybe I have a few carrots. And then tie in again my next shake, have a water bottle. And I do this. I know a lot of people hate water. I'm one of them. Like, you tell me to drink more water and I want to strangle you. But I found, like, this flow water, which is no calories, no added sugar. It's just organic. Like, this one has grapefruit. So
okay.
it's just a little bit,
Little
and
subtle
you could do it
flavor.
yourself. You could do it yourself with your regular water. But that was important to me, to where when I had it on my calendar and it was a little reminder at, like, let's say 1 o'clock, have 8 more ounces of water, have another 8 ounces of water. Then I started journaling, and journaling versus having anything to do on the internet, I'm forcing myself to handwrite about myself. That this morning I woke up, I had some water, I walked, I had my shake. And what's great about your shake is, back then I was traveling. So I wasn't going to take that big thing with me traveling. So what I would do is put my scoops in Ziploc bags. And I bought myself one of those mini blenders and put that in
Mm.
my suitcase. And there was no excuses. I'm
A little like the
traveling.
whisk and the battery thing, or
Yes.
okay, cool, cool.
And it was like, there's no excuses. I'm gonna do this even if I have to travel. I can't say, well, I'm traveling, guess what, the diet's off. Or the bad habits are gonna start.
I've heard some who were kind of seasoned and had been this a few times who said that traveling was sometimes an easy time for them because they had, it took away some of the stress of figuring out what to eat on the go. And
Yes, and that's finally what I'm like, this is now easy. Where before I hated traveling, and just making suggestions to myself, well, you can do this and take it with you. Like, you could, and even take extra just in case if you get delayed, or you get stuck another day, you have the extra there with you. So I really enjoy. I actually have to order some more, because that's my go-to. Like, I incorporated it in my everyday life now. It's one of those things, if I have back-to-back meetings, I can make a shake real quick instead of looking for a bad alternative. It's setting yourself up for success, not failure.
something you said that I think is really helpful to highlight was the idea of really, like, we've been called this managing symptoms versus chasing symptoms. So the context of the hunger, have a plan in place to manage it rather than wait till it emerges and then chase after it. Because that's, yeah, hunger, pain, whatever the symptom is, if you wait till it's there and bad, it's tough to manage it. But if you've got something in place to preempt it, you can often do such a better job with that. So yeah, managing those things in advance was really powerful, it sounds like.
Yes, and prepping, like, meal prep. And it doesn't have to be crazy meal prep. Like, it can be like, when are you in your day at your worst? That's when you want to meal prep for. My hard time sometimes is dinner, because I've had a full day, I've gotten my exercise in, I've worked, I'm getting off of work, I'm unwinding. Oh my God, I did a meal prep the night before, so I'm set. I'm not going to fail. A lot of nuts, like, who would have ever thought grabbing some nuts, like, if you're stuck somewhere, putting it in a little container and having that with you, and your nuts and water can get you through until your next meal. Just being so conscious, like, everybody's got this. You can do this. Don't make it harder than it is. Don't build yourself up to go, I'm a failure, this isn't going to work for me. It will work for you. Believe in yourself. That's the one thing that I wasn't able to do for a long time, until my journey with you. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I could do it. And that was, reading all the Debbie Downer sites on Hashimoto's and thyroidism, Your group is very unique. We lift each other up. We don't want anyone to fail. We want to encourage others. You've got this. And if you did fail, hey, it's okay. Get back on track. That's what it's about. Believe in yourself.
It's a good thing you brought up, and it's really tricky because people do have symptoms and struggle, and they do have bad experiences with the medical world. There's just no way around that. We can't deny this. These things are real.
Correct.
And there's a point at where people do deserve validation. They do deserve vindication. But you're right. There can be a time in which there's a different idea of yes, and like this happened, and now what? Not the goal is not to be there. The goal is let's see that. Now, what else can we do past that? And yeah.
Definitely. And that's, and that to me is a part of, believing in yourself. And, when I see you posting videos on Facebook, I might be in my car and I'll listen, or I might see it if I'm preparing dinner. But there's always good information, and people ask great questions, and you're like, you know what? I forgot to ask that on the last broadcast. Great question. And that helps me refocus or re-energize, who I am or what I'm trying to achieve. So it's wonderful to have that.
Something I'd love your feedback on. I think that sometimes we overcomplicate things, and oftentimes people struggle with symptoms. And I've seen so much data about how many ways weight can affect one's health, and how many ways you wouldn't necessarily think about. And I've seen examples to where people often, why am I tired? Why do my joints hurt? And we think about exotic reasons or hidden reasons. And sometimes it's just a few extra pounds. Like that's the most obvious cause of that. And I just wondered if you experienced some ways in which your health shifted that you might not have expected during the course of that, 75-pound or 65-pound transition.
Yes. And weight was a big, it bothered me so much that I didn't want to work out. I didn't want to be seen. I had no energy to do anything. So as the weight was coming off a little bit at a time, I all of a sudden had this energy, this crazy little energy bug. And then it was like, oh, my clothes are a little looser. This feels great. Now I'm down a size and this feels good. My knees were bothering me. My hips were bothering me as I was walking. So that's why I kind of did my increments in steps. So with those increments, I started, let's say, the 2,000 steps a day. Now I'm going to take it to 3,000. Now, instead of walking around my neighborhood once, I'm going to do it 3 times. Now I'm going to go out for a mile today, and then 2 or 3. And as I'm doing that, I'm feeling my calves and my thighs. They're burning, they're hurting, but it's a good burning and good hurting. And then all of a sudden I'm able to do things I couldn't do, go zip lining. I would have never gone zip lining. And I had that encouragement to do it. I bought a paddle board this year. And it used to be I was in my little canoe going around in the neighborhood. Now I'm using my strength and my energy for my core to stand on this paddle board. And it's taken on a new meaning for me, to where now I'm enjoying hiking, things that I would have never enjoyed because I just didn't feel good. And I had that extra weight on me that I would be huffing and puffing and sweating profusely. And now it's funny to see your body make that change, because you're eating better, you're developing better habits. And then I never enjoyed working out. It was a chore for me. And it was just like, is this really going to make me feel better? And yeah, it makes you feel better and you're enjoying it. Where if I can reach out to other women, you wouldn't believe, like, it's just so fun to search for hiking areas in your neighborhood and joining groups, and women that will encourage you. If you don't show up, they're texting you saying, where are you? We missed you today.
That's really cool. So some good social connections as well. And something else, I'm not sure if this was your experience or not, but for many, a lot of those symptoms start to show up rather early along in the journey. It sounded like for you, the first size change or something. And, when it works right, a lot of the weight that goes away first is some of the weight that's the most harmful to your body and the most toxic. So I've
Yes.
heard some to think that, well, yeah, but I don't want to wait until 5 years to feel better. But for many people, it's the first starts that make some of the biggest differences. So how did that play out for you?
Yeah, it was the first 6 months. So the first 6 months of really following the plan and journaling and notating everything that I was doing, holding myself accountable. So that first 6 months, when you start feeling better, you're like, oh my goodness, like I've got this little burst of energy, and oh my goodness, I'm getting a good 8 hours sleep at night. And oh my goodness, I'm losing this weight and I'm feeling better and my medications aren't changing. And I'm on a path to healthiness. And then from there, it's just after that first 6 months, I've got this. I've got this. Journal. I'm just excited for the person I'm becoming because I feel good.
When I hear about your story and I think about the path where you were at, where you were like a few days into your first reset and it was not working out well. And I could have really easily seen things could have played out differently for you. It could have been a whole different course from that point, but it didn't. So what do you think it was that, I don't know, was it a characteristic or was it something you heard? Or like, why did things not go badly? I mean, you could have easily just shut it down and just called it good. That could have been easily happened, but it didn't.
It's the putting myself first. I was putting others first. I was putting my spouse first. I was making excuses as to, why this isn't going to work for me, or it's going to fail. It's just going to be like everything else, because I had been fighting this disease um, 10 years prior to meeting you. So it was like, okay, well, if this didn't work with this doctor, and if this didn't work before, and I've tried these other things before. Um, Back in the day, one of the doctors I was seeing, they were doing something called an HMR shake, and it was for diabetics. So I was on the HMR shake diet. And I'm like, okay, well, I've done that shake diet, and we see where that went. I
Sure.
lost 10 pounds right off the bat, but then after that, it came back and then some. Um, so the difference was, I really, uh, it's, and I'm like, I'm not trying to toot your horn, but I really think the difference was the time and energy that you gave us, when I had met you 5 years ago, believing and believing in me, your team believing in me, and giving me that extra push. Like, how are you feeling today? And I get it that you're not feeling good, but you're making great steps and you're doing great in your progress. And then all of a sudden it was, guess what? My hair's not falling out like it was. Guess what? My skin feels good and it's not dry like a snake. Um, Guess what? All of a sudden, I have this energy. And it was that moment where I said, okay, I may have struggled in the past, but I am not struggling anymore. And I'm feeling good about myself. And I'm going to make those changes slowly but surely. And these past 5 years, it wasn't I didn't lose weight overnight. I lost it at a gradual rate, and that's because I made little changes here and there, increased my workout, changed my eating habits, and would eat every 2 to 3 hours. um, Drinking water every day. I was lucky if I got 1 glass of water in. Now it's my goal to get 10 glasses every day. um, those things made a difference in my life, and it's forcing yourself. You've lost some weight, now force yourself. Every day I'm going to walk, I am going to do an elliptical, I am going to do a bike. I'm doing something for me, and it's you right here that counts, and making those little changes every day. In time, you're going to feel amazing.
That's really cool. So you went through cycles of reset and maintenance, right? So like various pulse stages, and
Yes, um, I continue to do the resets. It's always good to do it. Like for me, it makes me feel great. Um, so I've done probably in my lifetime with you, I should say I've probably averaged about 2 to 3 a year. And it's just something that, hey, I'm just not feeling on it. Let me just detox my body. Let me see if, there's a new food allergy that I may have. And that's another great thing about journaling. I write down what I've been eating, and if all of a sudden strawberries aren't my thing anymore, I've got it pinned down to strawberries. So that's a great thing about the reset diet, is because you are now introducing different things, different veggies, different fruits. How is it making you feel? Do you feel good? Do you get an upset stomach afterwards? One of the things I never realized gives me an upset stomach is steel oats. Who would have
Mm.
my favorite thing to have, and it was causing a lot of uncomfort in my stomach, and I cut that out. Um, and your shakes I just incorporate almost every day, because it's just an easy thing to make, and not you won't sabotage yourself, because that's the whole thing as well. Don't sabotage what you're doing.
Don't sabotage yourself. How would that play out? What do you mean by that?
The For me, if because there's other people that live in my household, it would be, oh, I see what is the one thing my husband goes to? It's his go-to snack, and I just shake my head. It's the Crustable. It's the Smucker's Crustable.
Oh, I've
So
seen those in the frozen sections, I think.
so for him, it's that. And for me, if I don't have my shake there, like I have to order it, I'm out of it right now, I would go for a Crustable. I would give myself so much guilt about it, but I'm like, hey, I just had 2 minutes. I grabbed this snack, and that's what I'm going for. Um, it's okay to do it, but you shouldn't do it. I mean, you're on this plan, and it's also sugar for me. So for me, when I started your detox diet, sugar is what sets me off. And I knew when I started the detox diet, I could never go back to sugar. And if I did, it would be maybe a little morsel. But I knew that even that little morsel could make me want more morsels and more cookies and more cake and a candy bar. Um, so I just try to eliminate sugar altogether. And when I do have that one little morsel, because I haven't had sugar in so long, it gives me a stomach ache, a headache. So it's giving up things like that. Then you realize, okay, if I didn't make that change in my life, I wouldn't have lost some of the weight I've lost, because that's not healthy for you. I used to be a Coca-Cola addict, and I haven't had one of those in a really, really long time. That if I were to have one, I would probably be like, oh, yuck, this is so processed and garbage.
That's funny. I vividly remember the last time I had one. It was during an ultra marathon, and I was really dragging. I hurt my ankle during this race, and this was about like 40 miles into it. It was a horrible course. It was all rocky and steep. And one of the aid stations they were serving, I saw they were pouring Cokes. And I would normally just get, some water or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? I'm really caffeine sensitive. Maybe this will give me a bit of a boost right now. And it did nothing. It just made me jabber. And the person I ran with was so annoyed because I wouldn't stop talking about random things, but it did nothing useful for my legs. That was that was the last one.
Yeah, and it's so crazy to think. Like I look back on, where I was and how I let foods or Coca-Colas dictate my life. Like I can't get through the day without a Coca-Cola. I can't get through the day without a little bit of sugar. To where now I can get through the day without those items. It's mind over matter, matter over the mind. It's it's like I said in the beginning, it's putting yourself first and saying, hey, I am worth it. I'm worth it. That Coca-Cola can is not worth it. That cookie is not worth it. Um, Me eating healthy and feeling good, that's worth it. That's what I'm going to invest in. I'm going to invest in my health.
A couple of mindsets I'd like to highlight for people. So I've seen many to where they're struggling with cravings. There's certain things like that are big triggers for them. And of course, we want to always have the right thoughts, the right ideas, and confidence and whatnot. But in some cases, people get so fixated on themselves as being weak-willed, and the core problem is needing, more effort, more willpower. And it sounds like what you found was that a big part of it was planning and strategizing and setting yourself up for success, having the things that work better for you in place. And I've heard many people say, well, what can I do when I get the bad cravings? And I often think, that's not the right question. The question is, how do I set my day up differently so they don't show up? But when they show up, there may or not be much you could do, but you could do things in future situations to keep them from coming around.
Yep, and a lot of that is the pre-planning and the journaling and seeing, in my journal when I'm having those cravings and making differences. So one of the differences that I made was, nuts. Nuts is like a cookie or a piece of cake, but it's the healthier option. Avocado, sprinkle a little balsamic vinegar on it. Put a few tomatoes in there. That's a healthy alternative. You can cut up an avocado the night before, put some lime on it so it doesn't get brown, and you'll have it there waiting for you. I find that if I don't visually see the nuts or the avocado, then my mind starts going, okay, what's left? What's there? Oh, there's chips here. There's pretzels here. Oh my God, I can have this instead. And then I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. So it's putting that in my journal too, and looking back and reflecting, when I did cheat that one day and I did have the piece of candy or the cookie, why did I do that? Because I didn't pre-plan and I didn't have everything readily available for me to succeed. It was a little sabotage. And instead of me going, oh, let me make the right choice, I'm like, well, it's right there in front of me. It's staring at me. It's telling me. So I've really found comfort in journaling because it's funny to look back on things and see how you mix up snacks. Like when you're going to the grocery store, I never go to the grocery store hungry. I go after I've had a meal, because you're going to go in there and go, okay, well, I'm just going to grab these for the family. It's really not for me. So I've noticed too, taking my journal with me, it helps, because I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I really enjoyed having avocado, onion, tomato, and a little balsamic oil. I really love, having the cashews and switching it up and doing macadamia nuts, or having some Brazilian nuts. I haven't had those in a while. Not having the same thing all the time to where you want to sabotage yourself because you're bored. Giving yourself a little excitement. My big thing too is, when we do taco nights, I do the lettuce wraps. And for me, I can't imagine going back to like a taco shell or a tortilla. I love the lettuce wraps, or I do that egg roll in a bowl. That's one of my favorite dishes to make too, because you don't sabotage yourself. It tastes wonderful. You're not getting the extra craziness that comes with the other stuff.
Another mindset in there I'd love to highlight was, you talked about the realization about, I don't know, seeing foods not so much just for their momentary pleasure on the tongue, but how they'd be affecting you in the following hours and days. And you talked about how coming to associate really enjoying your ability to be physical, to go out and do things, to enjoy movement, and enjoy just the movement of your body and the flow and the motion, and realizing that your choices were affecting that, and seeing those choices out of just the narrow spotlight of, the mouth party that goes on for a minute or two, and on the bigger arc of your following days or weeks. So that was an important thing, I think, that happened.
Oh, definitely. If I think a lot of it too has to do with like the sugar rush. You get that sugar rush and you're not moving anywhere. You're not doing anything. Where when you eat healthier, it doesn't sabotage you that way a sugar or a pop will. It's kind of like that sugar overload where now you're like, okay, I need a nap. I need a nap because I had too much sugar. Versus the healthier I'm eating with vegetables and with the foods that I'm having, I want that exercise. I crave that exercise. Like craving the sugar, I'm craving the exercise part of it. And staying on that healthier track.
A week or so ago, I was with my son and we did a real long hike. We're climbing in the backcountry, doing some vertical terrain, and it was a pretty full day. It was like 11 and a half hours total from start to finish. And I realized this is kind of what we're talking about here is almost like, so with the model of like addiction, like think about, I just read a book, someone talking about their journey through some addictions, and classic story to where someone has this brief moment from substances to where they feel like here's your baseline level of well-being, and they feel really high for a little while, and then they crash, and then for a long time afterward, just everyday life is horrifying. I mean, they're just dark, bleak misery of going through basic existence, and then eventually kind of back to normal again. And I realized that with doing things active and doing physical things, it's kind of the opposite. Like you may have times to where you're pushing yourself hard, and in the moment it might be hard and challenging, but then when it's over, then everyday life is this peak experience, like just being able to have some cold water or sit down and put your feet up for a few minutes. So you get this long bliss afterwards. So in a lot of ways, learning to enjoy physicality like you have, it's kind of like the opposite of addiction. You get this big high that lasts a long time later, but you struggle a little bit at first, which is the exact opposite of the formula for addiction.
And that's funny, and it's true, because even doing my walking, going that block and feeling great, I did one block. I walked around the block. You come home and you're like, I did it. And then the next day you say to yourself, hey, I'm going to do it twice. And you walk around twice, and all of a sudden you're like, well, now I'm craving water. Like I'm not a water person, but I'm craving it. I'm thirsty. I worked myself up. Now I got down that one glass of water, like out of the 8 that I want to have every day. That's my goal. Like I have it in my journal. That is my goal, 8 glasses of water. You can do this. Then I took myself to that 1 mile, and I did it. I made it the mile. Nothing happened to me. I didn't
was
fall
that
up.
multiple blocks, or was it like a larger loop you did, or how did that work
A
out?
larger loop, a larger loop.
Okay.
Yep. And I did it. And I got home and I'm like, hey, I did it. I didn't die in the process. I actually got to drink 2 glasses of water this time. It made my life so much easier. But it's that kudos to you, right? You did it. You woke up early this morning. You got out. You were active. It didn't. You got to see birds. Horses, cows. You got to see the sun rising, or the sun setting if you do it at nighttime. And it's just that, wow, I'm doing this. I got up, didn't go right to work. I went right outside, got up early to exercise. Or on your lunch break, I got up from my desk. I went out and I exercised. Or my favorite thing that I love to share with people is when you go shopping, park in that last parking spot. You'll get your steps in. Take that last parking spot. Why does everybody feel the need that they need that first parking spot? Take the last spot and get your exercise in that way.
That's cool. That's a good one. One other thing I'd love to spotlight too is you've been trying some new activities. It sounds like paddleboarding was a new thing, huh?
Paddleboarding was a brand new thing, and it was scary at first because it takes a lot of
It's
your
not easy to
core.
balance, is it?
It is not easy to balance, but it's so rewarding in the fact that, okay, I fell a few times. It's like riding a bike. I fell a few times, but I was able to get on, and it's the best exercise you'll ever have. That next morning, it's that good pain, that good stomach pain, and that good arm pain. And it's you're not doing sit-ups at home, getting bored, like, okay, I got to do 10 more sit-ups, or I've got to do so many leg raises. Um, it's getting you out to enjoy the indoors and focus on your health too at the same time. And it's so nice to see like the fish in the water. You don't see that in a kayak. You see that on a paddleboard, seeing all the fish in the water and the different birds that come in through the seasons. Um, and once you master it, it's a pretty great exercise. Painful in the beginning, just like walking or anything else. But as you start to flourish, the pains that you get later on are those good pains. It's the, oh, my legs are thanking me. My arms are thanking me.
I'd been on those before this season. I've done a lot. Before this season, I've done them once or twice, and I never thought that much of it. I didn't see why people got so excited about it, but now I totally get it. It's a lot of fun. It's a really special kind of, I don't know, zen. You're very focused and attentive, and yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. And it's very accessible. You know, you can get a good paddleboard for inflatable portable ones for a few hundred that can work very well. So it's a
That's
very
what
accessible sport
I
for
have.
people.
Yeah, I have an
Yeah,
inflatable one. And it's
yeah.
great because then you deflate it, get it in the car, inflate it when you get to the dock, or many places have rentals. So you can do a
Mhm.
rental
Yeah.
and try it out that way and see if you like it.
And the idea too, it's fun to have a repertoire of activities, to have a variety of things that you enjoy that you can rotate between. That's great for, working different muscle groups, for preventing injury risk, for just making it more fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. I like to mix up my exercise and I like to do that, with the walking. I'm starting to do a little bit of jogging, a little bit of running, but I love walking and checking out areas or hiking. And then the paddleboard and canoeing, that's fun too. You go down a nice river or a stream. And then it's like, taking that to the next level, like when you go on vacation. And when you plan your vacations, you can plan around, what is it that I can do on this vacation that I can create a memory and get my workout in, and it's fun, and add it to my bucket list and say, hey, not only did I get to eat at this wonderful restaurant with family and friends, but I was also able to take a swim in the ocean or do a few laps in the pool before anyone showed up at the pool in the morning.
That is so cool. And these were skills you really didn't have before, but you did acquire them, and now they're developing. And
It's amazing. It's amazing when you start to feel better and invest in yourself. You can do anything. You can put your mind to it. You can do anything. It's not giving up on the process, not giving up on the diet, not giving up to make yourself feel better. If you're not feeling good, do a reset, put yourself in check. Those things then make you feel better as a person to where you want to do these things and you want to spend time with people and make those healthy choices, healthy decisions. Share that with with your family and friends.
this has been great. So yeah, Diane's a great example of someone who's come a long ways to where it wasn't easy. It could have easily gone the other direction for her, but she did persist, and she's doing things she couldn't before. And yeah, I thought this is really exciting and inspirational. And I think many have been in a spot to where they feel like maybe they can't get the health they want, or that things won't work for them, or that things are too hard. They've tried too much. Things haven't worked. But this is a cool story. So yeah, any closing words of wisdom that you'd like to, someone who's maybe they've not prioritized themselves, maybe their last thread of hope is just about gone, what would you say to someone in a situation like that?
Take the time for you. Journal so you can see where you're at currently, where you will be when you make those small little steps to improvement. um, Put yourself first. Choose friends that want to see you better and healthy. One of the big things is, I had friends that used to do potlucks or game nights, and the choices weren't very. It was pot stickers and cheese, and when you share what you're going through, 90% of your friends want you to succeed and they want to support you on this journey. So I was kind of amazed when I shared with my friends, how difficult it was, because I'm trying to better myself and I'm trying to make the right decisions. And it's funny to see them come together, and you show up for a game night and it's a veggie charcuterie board of all
Wow.
different healthy choices. No brownies, no cookies, all healthy choices. And once you share that, with your friends, they want you to succeed too. And a few of my friends started seeing me walking and asked if they could go with me. I was elated and overjoyed, and that's great. That encouragement to encourage others. Journal, don't give up on yourself. You have this. You can make a mistake, but learn from it and get back on the right track. Don't fall down that bunny hole of, oh my God, I messed up, so now I'm gonna mess up for the next week or 2 weeks. No, get right back on track and journal that, hey, I had a spot in the road, but now I'm back on track. You have
That's cool.
this. You have this. Believe in yourself. You have this.
And that's the thing. The human body is so amazingly capable of recovering, even when you wouldn't think it's possible. Our bodies want to be in vibrant, radiant health. If they're given the right circumstances, they will bring us back there. And you've experienced this firsthand.
Thank you. Me to you. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for letting me believe in myself. Thank you for everything that you do. It means something to somebody when you do things like this, and you do your things on Facebook and Instagram. That's magical, and that's life-changing as well.
Thank you for that. And I believe that when you have a health win like this, the way to really keep it is to pass it on, is to share your story, inspire others, help them along, and you're doing that. And that's and yeah, this in this interview, you're doing it in your daily life. So kudos to you.
Yep. And just like your Facebook or Instagram, if somebody's having a bad day and they're writing that they're struggling with the metabolism reset, or they're having a bad day, be kind to somebody. Say something nice to somebody to make them feel great that they're going to make a change. So be that change, and encourage others, because we're all in it together.
That's great. Thank you so much, Diane. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
And thanks for being here with us on Medical Myths, Legends, and Fairy Tales. Dr. C with you, and talk in real soon. Bye-bye. Hey, Dr. Christensen here. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode. Is there a topic you'd like me to cover? I'd love to hear from you. Just go to Dr. Alan Christensen on Facebook or Instagram, write your question, and use the hashtag Medical Myths. Did you find this show helpful? If so, please take a minute and leave us a rating on iTunes so that others can know. Thanks much, and I'll be back with you real soon. Bye-bye.